Welcome to Witchcast!
'Cause it's Witchcast.
I'm Emily.
I'm Kate.
And we're your co-hosts of this, the Witchcast podcast.
That's right. We're your learning, growing, ever-evolving novice witches here to explore everything under the woo-woo, esoteric, spiritual umbrella.
Yes, everything. In,
out, left, right.
In, around, all the way. It's a blanket of stars. It's an umbrella. It's beautiful.
Yes, and we're here to explore it all. And today we have a really special guest. We're so excited to have them back on the show. It's been way too long. They're a mystic, a teacher, a tarot reader, a writer, artist, super multi-talented, very spiritual, very exciting. Please welcome Alia Walston.
Alia Walston,
Hi,
welcome.
Thanks for having me again. It's really good to see you all. It's been so long.
Thanks for being here. It's our pleasure.
Your face is so beautiful. It's just like a bright sun in my life. It's been so long. Welcome back. Oh my goodness. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well considering. It's been like a really intense year for I know a lot of people in intense several years. And I feel like I've really gotten back into a place where I feel very settled and grounded and really ready to face whatever the hell it is that's going on outside. You know what I mean? It's crazy, and I'm don't always want to dive into it, but I know I have a lot of tools. So I'm I feel like
yes.
I'm in a good place in spite of the madness.
That's so good to hear. You do have a lot of tools. I love seeing you on Instagram, getting your Substack. You are such a talented tarot reader. You also talk so in depth about astrology and the planets and what's happening and how that affects our lives. You also talk about Christ consciousness and work in, Christian texts in a spiritual mystic way, which I love. So how can you talk a little bit about the journey in finding these tools and how you use them to stay grounded in such chaotic times?
Yeah, I think
light question to start off with.
Yeah,
I'm a Scorpio, so I love just getting deep right away. So
let's go.
Yeah, right.
Yes, happy Scorpio season, everyone.
It's my time. Yes. Yeah, it's interesting because I was raised in this context in which Christianity was very present in my life. But then there was also this element of the occult was also very visible in my life as well. And I'm not a Christian. I haven't practiced Christianity in a number of years. But I'm very aware of the structures of that religion and how it's not just something that affects only people who are Christian, but also how embedded it is within Western, in particular American, United States of American kind of structures. And so I like to think about all this stuff in the context of liberation and finding a sense of autonomy and freedom from some of the more dogmatic, kind of prescriptive, binding kind of energy that comes so much from this Calvinist Christian kind of doctrine that we have that's embedded in our society. So a lot of my work is about freedom and wanting to reach that place of feeling a sense of wholeness within myself and teaching that to other people so that we all are in places where we feel we're in our sovereignty so that we can actually do the things that we're meant to do, create the things we're meant to create, protect the earth and all that stuff. So all of my tools are ultimately about that, about getting back to that sense of wholeness and oneness ultimately,
I love that. That's awesome.
I love that so much.
And I have to say, I said this before we started recording, but I've been following your social media. I have been loving your Substack. And one of the reasons we wanted to have you back is that you have been doing so much and so active in the last few months and also throughout your journey. But I know that you've sort of ramped back up and you have so much to offer. So I'm really excited to have you back and talk about what you've been working on and
Totally.
your life and everything.
I want to touch on that thing that you said, in our sovereignty. That is, I wrote that down. That really resonated with me. Can you unpack that a little for us? I would just love to. What do you mean by that? That really struck a chord with me.
Yeah, I also said it intentionally too because I know that can be it's a very interesting word, appealing word in some ways, but it could be also like kind of controversial as well. So, because
I called you out.
no, yeah, I'm glad you did. I wanted you to. So, yeah, sovereignty is interesting because there's like this implication of the term sovereignty that it's about like hierarchy and kind of having dominion over people. And I think like where it's like sovereignty and like ascension and all that stuff can be used by certain aspects of like spiritual groups and that like new age groups too, and use it as a way to kind of like avoid and like bypass like things that are happening like on earth. Like people often, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm above this, but like people often use spirituality as a way to like escape, you know. And once you once you get in spirituality, you learn pretty quick that's the last thing you're going to be doing is escaping from anything. If you're actually really doing the work, you only get more in it as a way to find a way through. So sovereignty to me, like, it's part of like my understanding of like spiritual anarchy as well, because which I can talk about, but sovereignty is like the ability to like recognize that you are like the co-creator of your experience as a human being on this planet, and knowing that if you are like created like as a manifestation of the divine oneness, whatever you want to call it, that means that you have a specific kind of purpose and a specific kind of like frequency that is unique to you, that you are, again, using it kind of a loaded word, that you're the master of. And when I talk about sovereignty, it's not about it being about being over having power over people, but it's about ultimately, like to me, with sovereignty, like you can't recognize your own sovereignty without recognizing other people's sovereignty as well. And that's like kind of my principle when it comes to like spiritual anarchy, which to me is like this way of like rejecting traditional hierarchies in favor of like freedom and autonomy, and being able to like recognize that we live in a vast, chaotic, and strange universe, and yet we all have a role that we're meant to play, and making sense of our path and our purpose while we're in the midst of things that are constantly changing. So when it comes to sovereignty, it's about like owning your personal power and knowing how to tap into that personal power, and knowing that everyone else has that same ability and that same goal. And so how do you work together when you're all, you know, working deeply within your power? It can only, to me, it of course it brings can bring conflict, but conflict is not an inherent issue. You know, like to me, it can only bring more opportunities, more creation when we're all acting not from places of like codependence or fear, but when we're acting from our power. So that's kind of what
Mm,
sovereignty is for me in this context, you know.
yeah, absolutely. Love that.
That's really
I
powerful.
I've been thinking a lot about I saw, okay, there's like a, you know, RuPaul's on like social media, and RuPaul like, but of course I follow RuPaul, whatever.
He has really
like,
good tips.
yeah, RuPaul had this thing that was like, everyone has power, and it's just like how far away are you from your own power, how big or small you think it is, like the closer you can get to it. And like people have experiences that pull them further and further away from their own like power and their ability to like live in their power and like connect with other people. And it's like, so if you think that it's small, maybe you're just far away and you need to get closer to and like figure out all the things that are standing between you and like being able to have that, yeah, like stand in your own power and like
I like that.
That's really interesting. That reminds me of a Instagram reel I saw because this is how we consume all information now.
Consuming the world through social media.
Yes. What a wonderful hellscape we live in. It was about the locus of control and how there's internal and external locus of control. And this is like from a psychological standpoint, but I think it totally taps into that idea. They found that people who have an external locus of control, feeling like everything happens to them as if they have no control over it, the universe is, or whatever it is they believe, they are, not to say they play the victim, but essentially they play the victim, like that everything is happening to them. Of course, are not only unhappier, but they do actually like suffer more. And then people who have an internal locus of control, who feel like they do have inherent like relationship to their own power and are able to have agency and control over their own lives and decisions are not only happier but are able to actually, I was like, I think I sent this to you, Emily, and was like, this is just manifestation. Like, this is just like witchcraft to me, but are able to actually achieve more and have higher rates of success. Of course, that doesn't touch on the very complex issue of privilege and class and socioeconomic status, and there's a lot of things that, you know I think are naturally related to that, but it was really interesting. I think by accepting and embracing your own power, you naturally have to, like you said, Aaliyah, move away from your own fear, or at least confront your relationship with your own fear, and then also that shame, and then also recognize other people's power, because you're not the only one who has power too. And that is, I think, a very settled, grounded place to be, ideally.
Yeah, totally. Being able to like respect that other people will make choices outside of choices that you prefer, and that they also have the right to see their life the way they prefer to see it through. Like that's a really powerful thing. And to do it without like to like free yourself from senses of like codependence in that process too, because we're just, again, Western American culture, we're so taught to like depend on outside authorities and to like develop these relationships that are codependent, often without intimacy though. So there's like all this proximity,
Mm.
but there's not a lot of like depth or actual understanding or actually like support, and there's still with like there's all this proximity and within partnership, but then there's still like this idea of like, oh, I have this role and you have this role, and these are like these set defined things that we're supposed to do, when there's just like so much opportunity for freedom and expansion when you give yourself the opportunity to believe that anything is possible, which is also why the sovereignty thing works for me within the context of spiritual anarchy as well, because of that sense of possibility opening up and leaving room for change in all relationships, and whether it be to with another human, your work, everything, the land, like knowing that seasons change, like it just
Mm.
completely opens up your understanding of what is possible when you are available for that sort of thinking.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, let's talk about spiritual anarchy. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Kate, what
yeah.
were you going to
No, I
say?
was just gonna say this also sounds like radical acceptance too, the concept of which I talk about with my therapist a lot, radical acceptance. Um, no, also I feel like you probably read "Everyone to Filth" with the codependent without intimacy line. I wrote that down too. I was like, ooh, that also feels really close to home for a lot of relationships. Um, but yes, I do want. Let's talk about spiritual anarchy. I want a great segue up.
I know it's something that you have been talking about, not just on the podcast, but in general. And I'd love to hear one, just like a basic definition of what spiritual anarchy is, so we'll make sure everybody's on the same page, and then like what you've been doing with it.
Yeah. So I taught a class, a workshop earlier this year on spiritual anarchy. It was a free workshop just to like kind of give like an introduction to it. And I talk about spiritual anarchy in the context of like the sovereignty idea, and also in the context of Christ consciousness, which again is different from Christianity, but is like this kind of principle of, it's a heart-centered practice that is about like kind of oneness, enlightenment, evolution, and transformation. And it's like a path of like self-understanding to bring oneself back to wholeness, in relation to, as above so below, like if we are like what we are experiencing on the micro level is something that we can also connect to the macro. And so spiritual anarchy is a way for me to bring all that stuff together. So it kind of started as me understanding like politically that I felt kind of more on the anarchist bend, but I still kind of I also don't really like labels in general. Like I'm not big on any label at
Yeah.
all. Like I always tell people like the only thing I like to be called is like black and queer. And like those are the only two like things that I feel I have like no qualms with label wise, but everything else I'm like, is that the right word? Like but to me, like again, like in order to be able to understand oneself in relation to the complexity of the universe that we live in, I think that like having a sense of like autonomy is like really key. And so spiritual anarchy to me is like, it's a rejection of, like I said, the traditional religious or spiritual structures or hierarchies in order to question or challenge those beliefs and practices in order to seek one's own path towards spiritual enlightenment. And so we prioritize our personal relationship with the divine, however we want to define that, over dogma or authority figures. And so it allows for self discovery, and it allows for, like, I don't know, it feels like to me like the energy of like the magician and tarot, like where you're just like, this is number one, is the first card in the major arcana. And it's like you having all of the tools and all the elements at your disposal. And so how are you going to channel your unique kind of take on existence through your particular channeling, through your particular magic? And so spirituality, spiritual anarchy, to me is like, it responds to the conditions that we're in each moment. That's like the most important aspect for spiritual anarchy for me. It's like knowing that conditions change, that feelings are end up outside of our control and all that stuff. So how do we in the moment respond from a place of like self-possession and this idea of like aligning to our personal power, but not power over or power under, and not responding from a place of fear, but from a place of like empowerment and a sense of like confidence and trust in the grander scheme and grander plan of the universe, while knowing that you are part of the architect of that same structure that's guiding you at the same time, which is a mind fuck, but it's all like happening at once, all at the same time. And that's the other kind of element of it too, is like of time not being linear. And so kind of opening yourself up to guidance from different places and different directions, like you in the past. But what's the past? Like, are you your own ancestor? Or your own descendant? Like just being open to like really kind of like alien kind of paths of like understanding yourself all in like one moment, all in this one body, because we are in bodies, we are on Earth. And so like how do we deal with like carrying around these meat sacks, but we're also trying to like connect to God at the same time, connect to infinity at the same time, you know?
Damn meat sacks. That's crazy. That's so intense. To me, I was like, this sounds like being an eclectic witch, and I'm doing air quotes, being an eclectic witch, but like on steroids, like level 500. It seems so much more active, because I feel like I, as a practitioner, am so lazy in so many ways, but I don't want to judge myself. I don't want to, productivity is not a value thing. But I pick and choose what works for me and feels good in this moment. And I've kind of like created my own personal little practice, but it's almost passive and reactive in a way, because it's just what I have time for, or like whatever is in my cupboard, and like, okay, I'm just going to go with this. I like it. But I love how active and empowered, like you said, the idea of spiritual anarchy is. It feels like almost like a constant, I'm going to use corporate language, full funnel challenging, daily challenging of the structures that we all are kind of surrounded by constantly. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, I like the way you put that. And it's also a way, and that is kind of like the concept behind it too. I think like the last time I talked with you guys, I was either starting teaching or I was in the middle of teaching this course, Come As You Are, which the general concept of that is just like accepting wherever you're at within your journey, and like using the tools that are at your disposal without judgment or shame ultimately. And the spiritual anarchy element of that too is like using whatever kind of knowledge that you already have, like whether it be tarot or astrology or being a kitchen witch or whatever, or just like, you know, doing inner work, like whatever works for you in that moment, like grabbing the thing off the shelf that you need in that moment is important, of course, with like respect to history and tradition, and like acknowledging where your knowledge is coming from, where your tools are coming from, but knowing that ultimately, for me at least, I know for some people it's not all this, but every spiritual path, every kind of like understanding of God that exists, we're all talking about the same thing. It's not like God is like, oh yeah, I'm this is the only thing I am. Like, God, like what?
Yeah.
How would that even work?
I have a name and it's defined.
Right, yeah.
Like, you know?
Spell it right, please get it right. You know, capital D. You know,
my name is Derek, and it always has been.
Derek.
Derek.
What?
Exactly. It's like it's just all of it is just a human methods of trying to figure out what the heck we're doing here, basically. And so there's so many different ways that you can connect to that, and spiritual anarchy gives you the freedom to do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That rocks. I guess sort of like pulling in previous Witchcast episodes when we talked first about eclectic witchin way back when, one of the things we talked about is that eclectic witches a lot of times and like the Power of Three podcast back when they were Power of Threeing, they were all sort of doing this, but it was like recording what works for you. And sort of like passively creating. I mean, like you can obviously form it in your mind, but a lot of it was about like, oh, I'll try different things and then like see what works.
Oh, that was chaos magic.
Chaos magic. Oh. Oops.
Wasn't that chaos magic?
Yeah, it is. It's chaos magic. Yep.
But it's similar. I also thought about chaos magic when Alia was talking too. This also feels related.
Yeah, thank you.
No,
thank you for reeling me in.
Over 100 episodes, guys.
Congrats. Personal on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And yet I still know nothing.
Yeah, we are Jon Snows over here.
And that's okay. You know, like, I myself am, I guess, still collecting information. I was just going to say, like, that is one way of approaching it, where it's like you collect things, see what works for you, and another, it seems to me, is sort of a spiritual anarchy, the way that you're talking about it, which, from what I'm understanding, is sort of collecting things or deciding for yourself how you want to move forward, instead of like, oh, does this work or not? It's like, this is what I want. I'm going to try and form this. Does that feel right? Like taking more agency in
It's definitely more agency. And also I think like with spiritual anarchy, it also gives you the freedom to choose if you want to participate in tradition to do that, but to know that like it's not like the tradition is just, again, like the kind of way that we understand it on a human level, as opposed to a thing that has to be just for everyone, that has to have like this dogmatic kind of element to it. An example I think of that is there's a light worker and spiritual teacher, Mariam Hasna, who is really amazing. I really love following her work. And this is several years ago. She's still a Sufi, but she was initiated into Sufism. And she wrote about how she had no plans to join any kind of organized religion at all. And yet she was guided to, and she knew that that was her purpose. And whilst she still teaches about, other like chakras and other like ways of connecting to, the divine tapestry and all of that, but she still uses like Sufism as like a guide or like understanding of how to disseminate the information that she processes. And I feel similarly sometimes about certain aspects of Christian stuff, even though I'm not a Christian, like the Gnostics, the Gnostic Christianity in particular, who are kind of the heretics of Christianity and had their own books of the Bible that were like rejected because they were too radical, too inclusive, too freedom giving for people. And so too chill. I mean, they're kind of like pretentious as well, the Gnostics, but that's also kind of why I like them too. But yeah, like I'll bust out a gospel, every now and then, more than every now and then, because I appreciate what Yeshua's having to say, or like a psalm, as well. Like there's different ways that you can still, use the tools and like allow yourself the teachings of tradition without being like this tradition is the only thing or everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's such a challenge. I feel like I personally have been really examining my relationship to traditions, but also like society and societal pressures at large, especially like with we briefly mentioned this before recording, like all the life changes I've gone through. Like I'm married as this man, I bought a house, like I'm a wife, and like, but also even in my practice, I was raised Catholic, and so I was rooted and raised in a life and a culture that's so traditional, that's so about traditions, that we just do things because we do them, because our parents did them, our grandparents did them. Like I didn't even want to get confirmed, and my dad was like, well, just do it for me. You do it because I did it, do it because my father did it. Like, and I did, because I love him, and I'm like, fine, I don't give a fuck. Like but it's so, but I'm always thinking like, what is my role what is my gender role? What is my role at work? What is all these games that we play, all these like holes that we put ourselves into? And maybe I'm blowing this up like bigger, but I do think that this is something that I find myself always battling, of like, even with my witchcraft, it's like, oh, it's my bone. Like I need to do something. Like, oh, it's Samhain. Like I should do something, like, oh, it was a full moon. Fuck, I didn't remember. Like I'm a bad witch. Like, but why? Like, who cares? Like, so how do you wrestle with that? How do you like, I think that, I don't know, like, what is your relationship to actively challenging these traditions on a day-to-day basis? And what would be your advice to people who do feel like it, like me, it's like very easy for me to slide into, oh, I need to do this just because for some reason I think I'm supposed to.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. Like you mentioned these like Wiccan holidays. You said Samhain, all
Yeah.
that stuff. It's like, and yet, I mean, Wicca is like often an introduction to witchcraft for most people, especially like young
Yeah.
girls or people who were raised as girls, you know. And at least for me, like when I was like on the internet, like in the '90s, like trying to find out about witchcraft, so much of it was like about Wicca in particular. And it's like,
Yeah.
we don't all have to follow the Wiccan holidays and stuff like that, you know? Like, there's other harvest days that you can celebrate. There's different ways. This is an example, you know?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
different, like, so one part of my point of that is like, find the traditions that are actually like applicable to like your practice, that are actually like relevant to your practice, for one. Um, and for me personally, too, the other element that I like to follow is, you know, we all come here, for my understanding of existence, we all come here with a whole crew of guides that are with us to work with us, like wise and well ancestors, like other beings that are available for us to connect to. And there's some people that are like primarily, you know, they've done their work and they're able to direct their attention to you and your needs. And so I encourage people to connect to their highest and best guides and to their wise and well ancestors and friends, um, and connect to like those tools that actually like give you life, that feel good to you. Like, for one of them for me was tarot. Like as soon as I started reading tarot, I was like, boom, you know, ADHD be damned. I somehow want to do this every day. And I'm like committing to learning this every day by choice somehow. That's how I knew that it was real, because I was like,
Wow.
every day I wanted to do it every single day. And so
Yeah.
I pulled
That's
cards. Like
real.
the other day of full moon in Aries, the day of the full moon in
Hmm.
Aries, I checked in. I was like, I should light a candle. I should do something. And I checked in with my guys. They're like, you don't have to do anything today. And I was like, thanks, because I didn't really want to, you know, that was but then I did end up doing something a couple days later. I did get the guidance like
Hmm.
that. So I think the full moon was like Wednesday morning, like early morning. And I checked in like either that night or the night before if I should do something for the full moon that day. And they were like, no. And then I checked in on Friday and they're like, do something today. And so just like, I don't know, just let it be free. Like, let it be a conversation. That's the thing for me. That's what I want to help teach people, is that this is a existence is a conversation. Like, it's not someone just
Yeah.
telling you what to do all the time, because you, no matter what a guy tells you, you can always end up doing what you want in anyway. You know, like how that'll work out for
And
you.
I often
You know,
do.
like it
Yep.
doesn't matter, but like you have that choice. That's the thing that's beautiful, and that's what I find important about the spiritual anarchy bit. Is like, you have the freedom to choose how you want to learn. That could be the way in which you're super guided and like you're really tuned in, or it could be like you're just making choices moment by moment, just based off your mind or just off your gut. Um, and so I think just like having that level of cultivating a level of trust with your the way that you work with your extrasensory gifts, or with your tools like astrology or cards or human design, whatever it is that you choose, like, and knowing how to make it a conversation, bringing like curiosity instead of like this, I have to do this, I'm supposed to do this, and just being willing to develop actual real relationships with the things and beings around you, because that changes the game, because it becomes less about like, oh, I have this assignment that I'm supposed to do, although sometimes we do get assignments, but like it's not always, it doesn't always have to be like, okay, I have to be like a good pupil, I have to be a good girl, I have to like follow this rule. It's like, we're
Mm.
talking, like, and sometimes I get pissed at my guides too. I've screamed at my guides, like I've gotten mad at them. It's like, don't teach me that way, this doesn't work, you talking to me this way.
Mm.
Or you don't know what it's like, or some of my guides have never been embodied before, they've never been human. And so it's like, you don't know what this shit is, you don't know what it's like being in this body, don't use me as a test tube, as a test, you know, don't let this be like a lab experiment. Like, I have a right to experience pleasure and like safety in my body, so we're not just gonna like see what happens, you know. Like, you have the right to like get mad too, you know, and like decide what you want your relationships with them to look like. And so getting out of that like kind of mindset of like this is like a thing I'm supposed to do. And like, also, again, as I was saying, knowing which traditions you actually want to follow. Like, I'm not Wiccan. Like, I could recently also too, like, sometimes I would still have like a guilt of like not celebrating something on a certain Wiccan holiday. But I was like, wait, I'm not, that's not even my thing. Like, why do I even care? Just because I see a bunch of people writing about it, like, it has nothing to do with me. Like, I'll celebrate Easter if I want to, or something else, or my own holiday that I make up, or my birthday in particular. Like, whatever it is, you can work with that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so insightful to sort of think of yourself as an active participant in like how you like engage with like your guides or any sort of holiday. It's like you can choose. You don't have to worry about missing my bone. Like you're in charge, or you're at least in the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I ask? You mentioned some of your guides have never been embodied before. How did you first? How do I want to word this? Like, how do you talk to guides? Like, how do you do you use meditation or tarot? Like, how did you open up that channel? I want to know the beginning of that relationship where you were like, oh, I have guides and now I'm going to identify who they are. And then like, how do you continue to talk to them on a day-to-day basis? I'm so curious about your process.
I initially had no concept of any of this stuff. Like, I initially just kind of thought that, so like I thought that one had to have like a particular tradition that you followed, and that's how you got the guidance, whether it be like, I had a brief moment when I was in college, like a semester, where I was like, oh, I'm going to be Christian again, because I felt like this call for something, a higher guidance, and the only thing I knew was Christianity. And also I went to Catholic school, so I was like, I don't want to go to hell, so let me like check this thing out. Because Catholicism is great at that, like, guilt thing aspect, and the fear element. So okay, so yeah, I was like, and that's when I was in college is when I first started like learning about like the Gnostics. That's how I first found about the Gnostic Gospels, because I was like, doing the traditional thing is not necessarily going to work for me fully. And then ultimately, the dipping into Christianity did not work for me in the end either. Even the Gnostic stuff didn't feel right, labeling myself with that. So, I mean, a lot of times I think I like ignored a lot of what I was feeling or hearing, or I dismissed it as just being like, oh, that's not really a big deal. I can't really name what this is, so I'm just going to forget about it, or like not even consciously attempt to understand it at all. So I went years and years like that. And I basically got to a point in my life where, I found tarot, and I started reading tarot because I just enjoyed it. And I could feel that there was something special there. And this is a long way of saying that basically I learned through teachers that helped me like understand like my relationship with my guidance more, because I was running away from it all my life with drugs and alcohol and like all kinds of ways to like escape it, because I didn't understand that my sensitivity, like I was very, very sensitive, very perceptive, but I often felt like wrong, or was told that I was like wrong or weird for having those gifts. And again, to me, it just became, it wasn't even really fully aware of how they worked or their processing at all. I knew that I was intuitive. I knew that I liked giving good advice, but I didn't have a grander understanding of what was happening. And then I started working with these particular teachers who were like, you actually have all these gifts, and your guides are literally have been trying to get through to you. They're like screaming. They're trying to get through to you in like any way possible, because they're bored. They're like, your life is boring. You could be doing so much more. Like, it's boring. They literally were like, it's boring. Like, you need to like step up. So it's like, okay, that's rude.
Wow.
But it was true.
Savage.
Right? So savage. I mean, they could be like that. And so once I just like had that kind of concept, that understanding in my mind, I let myself be more open to it. And I kind of learned that the way that, intuition works, and like the clairs, like claircognizance, clairsentience, clairvoyance, all that stuff, we call them like subtle arts, because, our emotional landscape, our emotional field, our mind field, they're like very loud and intense, and are really, really good at like gripping the attention of your ego. And the ego is loud as well. But the subtle arts, they require a little bit more stillness and a little bit more receptivity and not, and like I feel like the ego and the mind and the emotions, they, especially when you're in like an acute kind of like kind of moment, they give you this feeling of like, oh, I have to do this thing right now. This is the thing I have to do. I'm supposed to do this thing. But the subtle arts and the subtle guidance, it's all invitation. It's just like, here's an opportunity. Do you want to take it? And so it requires a little bit more quiet, or a lot more quiet, depending on what you're working with. And so this learning like what the feelings in my body were, the feelings in my head were, and just like kind of trusting that the messages are coming through, even though I didn't fully understand exactly where they're coming from. And so one of the ways that I do connect with my guidance regularly is pulling cards. And so I pull cards like all day, just like in conversation with my guides, but also just like being in the practice of like listening to where my intuition comes from. Like it comes from certain sides of my head. It comes in certain voices sometimes, but usually it just sounds like me. But certain feelings in my body, certain places in my body, and then pulling cards often help. But I have a lot of gifts, but clairsentience is one of mine. Claircognizance is one of mine. So it's like this sense of like clear knowing. And it's like this having this like sense of like, oh yes, this is it. And the clarity that I can come through is just so strong and so articulated that I know that it's something different. And it's kind of hard to describe like in the moment, in the process, because, and even still knowing that I have all these gifts, I'm like, wait, do I just sound like crazy when I'm saying all this stuff? But like, it's
just cognitive dissonance. Don't listen to it.
Yeah, it's not real. But like, yeah, like I just know from my teachers and from going into like using the Akashic records, using my cards, it's like having these conversations with my guidance. I know who some of them are, but mostly I actually don't know a lot of the names of them. And I just develop relationships on a moment by moment basis. And the way that I protect myself, and stay in alignment with my wholeness is always like calling in highest and best guides, always calling in wise and well ancestors, and being really clear on that, and like not just being like a mental request, but that just being like the only thing that I find acceptable. Like, and that's pretty fine for me. I'm a Capricorn rising. I'm pretty snooty, so I only want to get the best of the best. So don't give me anything less than that. That's not even an option,
Yes.
Yeah, there's something else I was going to say, but there's there's this whole wealth of different tools that I basically use for guidance ultimately.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm a cat moon. I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
What are your signs?
I don't remember.
You're Scorpio too, right?
Scorpio.
She's a double
Scorpio
Scorp.
Sun, Scorpio rising, and Leo moon. And I actually don't remember what's in the rest of my chart, so there might be Capricorn in there somewhere, but
Nice. Cool.
I have to look to remember the
Probably
rest.
That's a fun triad, though.
Probably have Neptune and Capricorn. Yeah. What I would get. I don't know what year you were born, but that's what, guessing at your age, you probably have Neptune and Capricorn.
You're probably right.
Wow, that's great. I have so many more questions, but Emily, did you have something you wanted to ask? I feel like I'm hogging. I'm hogging Aaliyah.
Well, I wanted to talk about. So you touched a little bit on shame, and I know
that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, great. We wanted to talk about shame.
Yay, shame.
We were talking a little about Catholicism. We're talking a little. We're creeping up on it. Calvinism, Catholicism. They're out there. Shame. So what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? How do you...
So go.
I mean, shame is just like such a pervasive entity, disease in our culture. Like I use again disease like carefully with acknowledgement that whatever. There's it's a loaded term in some ways in this context, but yeah, shame is like an infection of like disempowerment ultimately, and
it's contagious.
It's super contagious. Ooh. It's so contagious. I mean, like it's so easily proliferated within our society, like with like image based, like kind of we're such an image conscious society. So beauty focused, that and there's just like so much like judgment and sexism and all kinds of things that go ableism, that go racism, homophobia, transphobia, that go into this idea of like what we are meant to look like, what we're supposed to look like. And it's just like this very, very narrow idea of what it is to be human, what it is to be a specific type, different kinds of humans, you know. And it's just like this messaging that we hear that's perpetuated from all sides, from media, from our families, from religions, from schools, from work, where we're taught like that we're meant to be a certain way. And if we're not that way, we're meant to feel shame and guilt and judgment about it. Um, and so much of like what my work is about like unpacking that shame, unpacking that guilt and judgment, because you know people think that like things like anger are toxic, when anger is like actually anger is not an emotion that we're meant to live in. We're not supposed to like be living in anger all the time, but anger is an extremely useful emotion. You know, it gives us a lot of good data. Like one, it also just like catalyzes us, it gets us moving and into action when we're angry. um, and also anger, like one of my teachers says that anger is love disappointed. And so it's like this element of like feeling like this absence of love, this thing that we're supposed to, that we know that we're not supposed to, that we're meant to be experiencing, this love that we're meant to be experiencing, but we feel separated from it in some way. And so anger is useful, but shame and guilt are binders. They like ultimately bind us to things and feelings and people and experiences that we're actually not meant to be attached to. And so the thing about shame is like breaking those bonds that we're not actually meant to be connected to, and finding and going again back to wholeness, back to our own frequency, because it's like the shame is like, oh, I'm supposed to look like this, I'm supposed to be this way, my body shape is supposed to be like this, and my nose is supposed to look like this, like whatever it is, or I'm supposed to work in this particular way at this particular hour. All of it is like a determination that's set by who? Like some dude 300 years ago or 1,000 years ago? Like what?
Some dude. Yeah.
It's often some dude,
fucking guy.
to be real.
Yes.
And it's like, and it's because, and like it comes from, and again, we're in this, it's hard not to get into like the socio-political elements of it, but a lot of the stuff that we feel guilt and shame about were intentionally created to give that feeling of that sense of loss of power and loss of autonomy, so that we would feel that we could only kind of like follow the directive of a certain type of like guidance, a certain type of person. um, so yeah, breaking down shame is about like recognizing that you don't have to fit that standard, and to recognize like how disempowering shame is, and like letting yourself be free to be the person that you're meant to be, and not just to a standard, an arbitrary standard that's set by someone else that created that standard because they hated you. Like a lot of times, like it's because they hate you, like hate your people, hate your existence, hate your freedom. And the more that we become aware of shame, especially again in America when it comes to like work and productivity, and I mean, it's everywhere. It's like inescapable. It's really inescapable. And you have to be vigilant, really, when you pay attention to shame, like, and not in a way where you're constantly afraid and like, you know, on guard. But you do have to kind of like take shame out at the root. You can't live in alignment with yourself when you're always in shame all the time, because it is so insidious. It runs in the background. It's a very effective infection because it's like kind of always going in a lot of ways. So you really have to like know yourself, and like um, know that it's okay to like be messy and like free, like to like make mistakes, and for your life to not look the way that everyone else says it's supposed to look. Um, yeah, it brings like, and I think there's some elements of shame that I think, I talked about this in a Substack recently, like there's some elements of shame that I think people have found useful in terms of like conversations around privilege, and like helping people recognize like um where their privilege has harmed others, for example. But that's a very specific tools, like that's a very specific kind of like circumstance. And shame really only works when someone has the capacity to like go through it, not just like recognize it and then act from guilt, but to be like, okay, where is the root of this and how can I, you know, work in action that does not serve this particular shame in this moment. And the other element of shame too is that it doesn't work if the entity like an empire is incapable of shame. If it doesn't care about your shame or your fear or your begging or your peace, you know. So I think shame as a tool for dismantling power structures has a place, but one has to recognize that it's a very short bridge that will get us there. It's not
Yeah.
one that we can like keep, from my perspective, one that we can keep like kind of walking on in order to actually bring effective change to the world personally. So shame to me is just like,
Yeah.
it doesn't bring a lot of value in the end because it sucks things away. It takes away. It doesn't build. And what we need more than anything in this world right now is building
Mm-hmm.
creative structures that are
Yeah.
parallel to this fucked up world that we're living in, because we need life. We need like life more
Yes.
than anything. It's not just all about the breaking down. We need to create an alternative
Mm-hmm.
to like the mess and the
Yeah.
madness, you know?
That's
Mm-hmm.
so key. That's such a good point. And I think also, you know, I've heard people say that, oh, shame is like guilt is when you feel bad about something you've done, which is not a bad thing necessarily to feel like that's good to feel guilty if you've done something wrong, like hurtful, harmful. And shame is feeling like you're a bad person, mostly usually for existing. And I also like to think that humility is separate from shame. I think like you can have humility and awareness to your point of acknowledging privilege, acknowledging harmful actions or language. You can admit that, you can have awareness and humility and you know, come forward and accept like I made a mistake, I was wrong and here's why I was wrong, and that's, you know, so but I do think that, like you said, I agree. I think shame is a more pervasive, like uglier seed, like of like a very, like you said, like a disease that needs to be taken out from the root. That because it's most of the time, I feel like usually very much about who you are as a human being that is just wrong for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's like that, like I'm bad just because I'm bad because I was told I was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it just cultivates so much doubt within oneself, and it makes you hold yourself back in so many ways,
yeah,
and it makes you also more compliant to structures that are harmful as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is
Easily
why so many of
controlled.
those structures try to create
Mm-hmm.
shame. You
Exactly.
know?
Every day, all the advertisements you see.
Yeah.
Um, I, I want to draw a card soon, but I want to just real quick piggyback on the
Yes.
conversation of shame, and just briefly talk about fear because I know I feel like that's so related. And you mentioned fear, and I know that when I was taking like a psychic mediumship workshop with our friend Emily Grote, one of the first things she said was like, you have to dismantle your shame, you have to dismantle um fear, like in order to be open, you know, you have to like remove judgment, remove shame, remove fear, because you won't be able to truly be, you know, she said it in a much more elegant way, but you can't truly be open when you have those things. You know, we spent so much time on it, and that was fear was the one thing. I feel like judgment, shame, I'm like, ooh, I have those, but I feel like I can work with those. Fear was the one thing that I could not let go of. And it scares me, like, quite honestly, like the depth of power, the vastness of space and like what else is out there, you know, even talking to your guides, like you said, like all of this feels very very large and like really kind of scary. And when I was starting to actually get messages, I shut down because I was like, I can't handle this. So how do you work through fear? What is your relationship to fear and how you work through it?
Yeah, part of it is like learning the difference between the fear feelings I'm experiencing and my guidance, which again, that one of those ways is like knowing that the guidance is like more subtle and fear is loud and like overpowering and kind of like the higher guidance like opens you up ultimately, but fear constricts and like kind of closes things down. So when I'm feeling closed down and out of and like needing like a sense of control, that helps provide me context. Or even if like the thing that I'm fearing is the thing that I don't want to happen is happening, like knowing that like at least in that moment my perspective on it is not actually supportive or true or real. And also like knowing that even if I'm going through something that's difficult, that I have support like throughout it. And I think the thing about fear is like learning how to if the antidote to fear is trust and surrender, um, and knowing where to place your trust and how to like and where and how to place your trust and how to use your trust. And I think this is something that's going to be coming up a lot over the next like year and a half, because you may remember I'm really into the lunar nodes, so the nodes of destiny and astrology, and the lunar nodes are currently in Aries and Libra, the North Node and the South Node, respectively. So we've been learning a lot about like independence, all that kind of stuff. We're talking about like breaking through like codependent stuff and learning who we are on an individual kind of level. That's like the Aries North Node stuff. It's a very relational kind of transit because it's got the Libra Aries thing, but also learning how to find ourselves within relation to the wider world. So that's that. And then the lunar nodes, they're not actual objects in the sky. They're points along the moon's ecliptic. And so they're where eclipses happen. And so with the lunar nodes, they move retrograde through the chart. So since we've been dealing with the nodes in Aries and Libra, they'll be transiting into Pisces and Virgo next year in Western astrology and tropical astrology. So in January, they'll be there for a year and a half. And so to me, that's the fear, the trust, surrender versus fear, like in a nutshell, like control versus surrender in a nutshell, with Pisces kind of being the more naive, open, spiritually open, like available, expansive idea, and Virgo being kind of like more detail oriented, more of like dealing with like sorting and organizing the material and the anxiety that can come with that. I mean, there's anxiety that can come with the Pisces stuff too. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that go with the Pisces stuff, addiction, illusion, all that too. But these are like the things we're going to be facing. Like, how do we learn how to, now that we, in theory, have learned all these lessons about who we are and how to trust within ourselves, how can we then learn to surrender because we have that sense of trust of our guidance, ideally, or at least started the process of learning that? How can we learn how to then seek guidance that isn't necessarily visible or material? And how can we like surrender to a higher purpose, even if we don't always have the answers? And so for me personally, I am so clear in my path that I know that there's certain aspects of my understanding of myself that I know are true. And so I am able to, for the most part, I mean, like my mind, I have a lot of fear. I have a lot of anxiety, I experience a lot of anxiety and stuff too. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like above this shit at all. But I do am willing to like see the other side of it. And so like I have like my understanding of my path and my soul purpose, and fear does come up with that. But I know that when I pull out my cards, and I know that when I'm asking, or if I'm praying at my altar and asking for the highest and best guidance, or for opportunity, or for gifts, I know that I can trust where they're coming from. And I think that is more important than anything for people, is to like, again, develop those real relationships and those real sense of trust with yourself and with your guidance, with whatever tools you want to use. Like, I know people that have worked with planetary worship to a certain extent. That's a kind of reductive way to talk about it, but like it's a way of understanding like the planets as ancestors. I don't remember what her last name is. Ariana Felix. I don't remember what her last name is, but she's the Dream Mommy on Instagram. She, they. I don't remember their pronouns, but they talk about like planetary ancestors and connecting with the planets as like specific like guides. So I'll give an example of a way that I did that with myself. Like, so we have Pluto, has been in Aquarius for a while, but then it moved went retrograde and went back to Capricorn for the last time in our lifetimes. We'll never see Pluto on Capricorn again. And Pluto has been in my first house since 2008. And it's been a wild ride because Pluto, talk about bringing stuff up from the root. Pluto's a great planet to work with if you're trying to work with shame, because it won't think twice. It'll cause an earthquake, a volcano, and it'll be like, okay, you done with that shit? You over it? Like, it doesn't fuck around.
Damn, Pluto.
Right, for real. And so with Pluto, I was like, okay, Pluto, you were in Aquarius for a while, and now we're going back into Capricorn. It's been an intense ride, the two of us. It's been a lot. But you know what? This time, I know this is a really momentous thing. I'm willing to like step up in my power. I want to have a relationship with you. I don't want to necessarily learn the hard way. I want to have like a real relationship with you. I want to like know how I can harness power, because Pluto is about power as well. And I'm willing. I'm going to be a willing student in this process. So I'm here. Teach me about what I'm worth. Not what I'm worth, but teach me what I'm working with. Like show me. And having that kind of like understanding with Pluto, I'm not saying things have been perfect, but I definitely can feel the effects of Pluto being like, this is where your power is, this is where your power is. And that led to like that sense of like understanding of my embodiment and like feeling more in my body in the first place. It's like that willingness to have that conversation and be like, okay, teach me, show me how it's meant to work. And so you could do that with a lot of different ways. And that's how you develop that trust that's so important, when you like know that what you're speaking to isn't here to harm you, that the universe isn't here to harm you. Like, that's the thing that helps me feel safe, is like, the thing about oneness is that you can't, if the universe was trying to just destroy itself, or if the universe is only about chaos, then it would just be gone. We wouldn't exist as we do now. Humanity wouldn't be able to exist as we do now. We would have destroyed ourselves already, right? And so if I trust that like love and connection, you can replace the word love with connection, because literally we're all in this cosmic soup together. If you believe that that is like the prevailing tenet of the universe, then you can do nothing but surrender to that in the end. You can do nothing but trust that in the end, ultimately, no matter what your mind is or other people are telling you. And so I have full faith in that belief that the universe wants to work with me when I'm working in my power, and they're trying to guide me and trying to show me my power. That is the lesson of Earth School. They're not here to fuck us up. We're not here because anyone made us be here. We're here because we asked to learn on this wild fucking ass planet, like as fast as we possibly could, because that's how, it's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It gets the job done. Earth, like it'll help you learn quick. Efficient. Yes, the most efficient way to learn is by being on Earth as a soul, as a spirit. And so I trust in that wholeheartedly. I have no doubts in that. And that leads me to understand my fear more. And so if my fear is telling me that something separate from love is happening, then I know it's full of shit. And that allows me to surrender to the higher guidance that I'm experiencing. That allows me to say to Pluto, a scary ass planet, and I say that as a Plutonian myself, it's scary, and be like, hey, I'm willing to learn. I'm here. Thanks. I'll be a student. And to know that it'll guide me into like a loving path. That's what makes all the difference ultimately. And so fear is going to be there. It's a scary ass world we're living in. It's not a matter of like not feeling the fear. It's like learning how to trust in the face of the fear and surrender to the higher guidance in the process that makes a difference,
Damn, that's beautiful.
You've got this. You've all got it. We're doing our best.
So good.
We're all just doing our best.
On that note, shall we draw a card?
Yeah, let's do it.
How do you feel, Em?
Yeah, good, great.
My heart is
like
so full right now.
Hunk of meat filled with atoms that can't be destroyed.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're here. We exist forever in some form. That I also trust in that. We're here forever. Great. Let's show me. What's going on. I want to know everything. I want to know what's going on about everything. Tell me. So anyway, that's how I live too.
It feels you preach. I love it when you talk. I'm like, yes, I feel it all. Oh, so what deck do you have for us today?
My old handy borderless Rider-Waite tarot deck, Rider-Waite Smith tarot deck.
Nice, love it.
I love it.
It's so beautiful.
The artwork is just so visceral because it has no borders, so it just It gets right to it.
The borderless really, really effective.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So one thing people can say too when you pull your own cards, like calling in wisdom, protection, guidance from my guides working in line with the highest and best good, and fall into that frequency when you're shuffling or tuning in. What are we meant to see? What are we meant to hear right now? What's the card? The sun.
Oh. All right. Fucking yeah.
It's so
Speaking of energy
cute.
not being able to be
Happy
created
baby.
or destroyed. Happy baby.
Yeah. That's a lovely
I'm
card to end on,
crying.
right? Like, I don't know.
Oh my god.
That's just like, that's what we're saying, to staying open, like being fully yourself, being fully free, trusting that you're being carried and cared for while you're on your path, knowing the path is like illuminated for you, that it'll light up as you go. Like, I mean, it's a perfect card for all the stuff we're talking about, honestly.
Fuck, that got me. That's really good.
Yeah, it's so liberatory. It's such a great card, the sun. I mean, sometimes the sun could be scary too because it burns and it, like, you can't escape it. But at the same time, like, this card just tells you that you're meant to just keep moving forward, you know, and to trust, honestly. I mean, look at that baby. That baby's not even holding on. They're like, I got
That
this.
baby has trusted and surrendered.
Totally,
Yeah.
exactly.
Will you take a photo of that beautiful card and send it to us so we can post it on our Instagram?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Oh, I love it without the border. It's so nice.
It is really nice.
Oh, I have so many feelings. Well, how can people, you offer so many things. I know you do tarot mentorship and readings, right? And you also you have your wonderful Substack. You teach workshops sometimes. So tell us, how can folks get in touch with you and learn more and soak up more of your amazing wisdom?
Yeah. So my Instagram is Alia Walston. My website is aliawalston.com. And I have a Substack that's called You Are the Spell. youarethespell.substack.com. And there I'm like writing articles and doing like audio posts. And I've been focusing a lot of like my attention on bringing more people into that kind of space where we can like actually like get really more in depth with things than you might be able to do on social media. And so I invite folks to follow as either like a free or a paid subscriber to my Substack, youarethespell.substack.com, as I already said. And yeah, I'm teaching, I do one-to-one readings. I offer tarot mentorship. And the tarot mentorship is meant to like kind of help people as they're learning the cards. And that could be like a full, like, okay, we're talking about all the cards right now, or if you just like have a question that you just want to ask, if you're trying to understand a card more in depth, we can do that sort of thing too. I've also started dipping my toes into astrology mentorship, really like kind of basic, like foundational astrology mentorship. I'm more of a modern astrologer, but I do teach some aspects of traditional astrology as well, because I think that's important to be able to understand modern astrology too. But yeah, lots of workshops, lots of things that I'm cooking up right now. I'm in a very like kind of fertile time, so this is a great time to like kind of jump on board and get some wisdom and hopefully find some guidance for yourself, and so you can get to living your best life, you know?
I love it. Get on that Leah train. That's good. That's awesome. We'll post all of your links on our website as well, so people can find you, and we'll tag you on our Instagram. So you can also go to witchcastpodcast.com. We'll post, the photos and everything from today, as well as all of Leah's contact links, so you can reach out to them. And also you can follow us on Instagram at witchcastpodcast. And
you can email
our
us
website,
at
right?
witchcastpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you.
And while you're out there on the internet, don't forget that you are always welcome to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Yes.
It helps other people find us, and also it makes us feel good.
Yeah, so feel empowered to give us 5 stars.
I also want to give like one little note, which is just that this is going to come out after the election, and so we don't know what's happened yet because we're recording it before the election. So
that's a good call.
Whatever you're hearing right now, please send us messages from the future.
I just like rested my forehead on the microphone.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
Speaking of fear and
Shame.
moving forward.
For real.
Moving.
Well, that's also, just to say one last thing, that's why this work is important, is because, like,
Yes.
the world is really wacky and it's going to get wackier for a bit. And we need all of us to be, like, on our game just to live and thrive. There's a way, if there's a pathway to thriving on this planet, now's the time for us to try to find it. So
Absolutely.
no matter what happens with the
Absolutely.
election,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, no matter what happens, I love that you said earlier, we have to rebuild. We have to focus on building.
Yeah.
Love.
Creative energy, not just
Yes.
against stuck
the
guilt,
destruction. Yeah.
shitty energy.
Yeah.
I mean, all energy is neither good or bad nor bad, but whatever. Whatever.
Yes. Carry forth. I guess and then that's all for now. But thank you so much, Alia, for being on the show.
Thank you
What
so
a
much for
lovely
being here.
conversation.
yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, talk to you forever. And I guess until next time, hex yeah.
'Cause it's Witchcast.